All right, here we go. All right, so in today's group of videos, we are going to be talking about the female and the male reproductive system. I'm going to give some introductory remarks about the reproductive systems in general, and then we're going to cover female reproduction followed by male reproduction. And this slide presentation has about 30 slides in it. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing today. I'll be doing these, and then we will sit down on Monday morning and we'll talk about them one more time. And that way you have a chance to hopefully peruse them and then listen to my discussion. And I will then be posting immediately after the class. I will be posting exam 1. All right, so the male and female reproductive system. The first thing we need to talk about is on slide 2. So we have slide 2, we have the primary sex organs, and these are what you would call gonads. And so the primary sex organs, by definition, are going to be the organs that produce the sex cells. And we didn't cover in class the process of meiosis. It's a special type of cell division where we reduce the number of chromosomes by 1/2. And that's to produce either an egg, an ovum, an oocyte. These are synonymous names. Oocyte, ovum, these are eggs. And then the sperm cells, they just have one name. But in both cases, the sex organ, in the sex organ, we had this process of meiosis, this special type of cell division where we reduce the number of chromosomes by 1/2 so that when an egg and a sperm combine, what do you have? You have a diploid organism, one with 2 sets of chromosomes, which is what we have. So what are the gonads? What are the gonads in the male reproductive system? It's the testes. And in the female reproductive system, it would be the ovaries. Okay, so those are the gonads. I'm just paging down my slides. I want to make sure that I cover these. Now, so we had said one of the functions of the male and of the gonads, primary function of the gonads, is to produce the gametes. And the gametes are either the egg or the sperm, the ovum or the sperm. The technical term for that is a gamete. Now, there is one other major function that is performed by gonads, and that is to produce the sex hormones. In female, they're going to be we're talking about producing estrogen and progesterone, and in the male, we're going to be talking about the production of testosterone. And it ends up that that in this process, what this does is when in development, spit it out, Steve. Sorry. In development, what happens is 7 weeks after fertilization, pretty early in the process. If you are a boy, if it is a boy baby, what happens is the boy starts to secrete testosterone, to the hormone, the male sex hormone. And what this does is it will masculinize the baby. So by default, you have female arrangement of organs, but then under the influence of testosterone, if you're a male, these organs are converted into the male structures. So what does that mean? That means that the male and female reproductive structures have related structures. So the ovaries become testes. That's an example of what I'm talking about. And the clitoris becomes a penis. So this is what we're talking about, this process of masculinization. There are other changes, of course. Facial hair, a heavier brow. Sometimes you can look at someone who is transgender or who has gone from male to female, or a female impersonator. And you can look at them and you can say, somehow I know that's a guy, that's not a woman. And it's because there are some actual physical changes that happen during development that are not reversible, such as the forehead and a lower voice. These are some examples. So anyway, so we said that we have secondary effects. You have the effects of the hormone is to produce these secondary sexual characteristics. There are also secondary sex organs. So we had said the gonads produce an egg and a sperm, and the egg and the sperm must come together and be fertilized. Now, in humans, that involves internal fertilization. And so internal fertilization means that you have to somehow get the sperm cell to the egg when it is, as it is migrating, after it's been ovulated and it's making its way to the uterus. And so we have some modifications to the male structure that is to accomplish this, and that's the penis. Then we have some organs such as the epididymis, the prostate, and the seminal vesicles. And we'll talk about them more, but and the vas deferens. And then in the female, in addition to having the ovary, we have the fallopian tubes, the oviducts, or the uterine tubes. Three names for the same thing. The uterus, which is closed at the end by the cervix, and then below that you have the vagina. So all of those are secondary sex organs. Primary sex organ would be the ovaries. All right, so I have a picture on slide 4, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago about secondary sexual characteristics. And this is one of these pictures where on the viewer's left, you see male, and on the viewer's right, you see female, and in particular with regards to the heavier brow. This is a physical change to the bone, to the skull, that happens in response to testosterone early in development. So that's what I was talking about there. And then, of course, we have the facial hair, heavier muscling. And I'd mentioned this before in the endocrine system. That's why athletes abuse testosterone, because it helps produce a more muscle mass and denser bones. All right, so slide 5. So those are the introductory comments, and I'm going to come back with slide 5 to start talking about the female reproductive system. It's much more complicated than the male. Women are more complicated than guys. We all know that, right? So we'll come back and talk about that in just a minute.